So the retrial of the Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot. What is going on here? Let's zoom out for a second. So in 2020, Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, very radically left, was very, very strict about the lockdowns. She was like on the level of Cuomo, on the level of Newsom, just a total COVID crazy, really infringing on the rights of her people and locking down businesses, locking down individuals, issuing unilateral, dictates. And it was truly awful. The people of her state did not appreciate it. This was the time where there was this political battle happening between red states and blue states, which was going to be the predominant policy as it pertains to COVID. Were we going to have more of a Florida policy? Were we going to have a more New York policy? Obviously, at this time, the radical left in Congress, in the deep state, also in the public health sphere, really wanted to associate any of us, and this is you and me, guys, any of us who dissented from the Fauci version of public health. They wanted to paint us as crazy. They wanted to paint us as violent. They wanted to paint us as anti-science, as radical, as basically homicidal. If we didn't put on the mask, if we didn't get our 4 jabs, then we were killing Granny. You remember all of that. So around this time, the FBI infiltrated basically a group of ne'er-do-wells. It was like a half a dozen ne'er-do-wells in Michigan who called themselves the Wolverine Watchmen. What does that mean? Who knows? And the FBI infiltrated this group because online they had been talking about what to do about Gretchen Whitmer, and they had said some horrible things about her, and they had talked about perhaps committing violence against her. Did they actually intend to commit that violence, or was this just, forgive my French, bullshitting online? Well, that's a pivotal part of this story here. The FBI infiltrated this group and encouraged this talk about possibly committing violence against Gretchen Whitmer, really encouraged it, really coordinated the plot that these people would later be charged for. And I'm talking about, when I say infiltrate, I'm not just talking about one informant in the midst of this group who is telling the FBI, hey, here's when this crime is going to be committed so that you can prevent it before it happens and you can arrest these people. No, I'm talking about the FBI informants became the leader of this group. They paid for travel. They paid for training. The violence that was plotted but never carried out was actually the idea of the FBI informants. In fact, this plot would have never have existed without the FBI informants. So fast forward a little bit, these people that were part of this group were arrested and they were charged and they were tried. The 4 people who were tried, 2 of them were acquitted and the other 2 had hung juries, which means that there was a mistrial. So 0 people charged by the government in the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer were convicted. 0 commitments because it was pretty obvious that the FBI committed entrapment. It was pretty obvious that the FBI actually staged this whole thing. So where are we today? You would think that that would be the end of it, that the prosecution would, take the L and just, hang their head in shame and go about their business. But no. This is too political for the left. The mainstream media and the Democrats really latched onto this because they wanted to associate any kind of violence, any kind of weirdos with anti-lockdown sentiment. So they wanted to associate me with some weirdo ne'er-do-wells who were saying bad things about Gretchen Whitmer online. Obviously, it's an unfair comparison. You can't, if you're an honest person, conflate the 2 things, us and these people. But if you're an honest person, there's the caveat. We're talking about Democrats. We're talking about the mainstream media.